Yeah, there's the final whistle. And Shrewsbury fans blow the roof off of the place. They are very ecstatic about this one, and rightfully so. First game of the season, or first win of the season for Shrewsbury here. And what an absolute let-off there for AFC Wimbledon. Not even going to sugarcoat this one. That was just poor. Honestly, I was going to say that is probably the most frustrating result so far this season. You know, 23rd place Shrewsbury Town. You know, the fact that they failed to create many chances. They only really had 2 clear-cut chances all game, AFC Wimbledon. One coming from the goal, which was a fairly well-worked goal off the counter-attack with Ayub Assal on the break. At first, it was good pressure from Woodyard and from McCormick to double up on one of the players there. And then, you know, the counter-attack. I think Assal could have played... he could have played Mabude early on from about the midfield area because Mabude had plenty of space ahead of him, but he plays McCormick, who plays Mabude, a nice incisive pass, and Mabude finishes it with precision. They only really created 2 clear-cut chances, one with Mabude and one with Jack Rodoni. There was a nice cross played in by Che Alexander just over the head of Presley as he was going over for the header. And Jack Rodoni, a little bit reactive rather than proactive, instead of, you know, assuming that Presley wasn't going to win the header, didn't have enough time to react to the header, and his header was, you know, placed just wide of the frame, and Jack Rodoni wasn't able to get on the end of that one. But those are the 2 best chances that they had all game, and then a couple other half chances came with Henry Lawrence splitting 2 defenders. Came in the 60th minute. I thought he could have came in. He could have started right away, but I'm happy with Guinness Walker and Alexander defensively on the wings. But Nightingale and Hennigan, not as impressed with them today in terms of marking. I think the second goal from Udo, or the first goal, the second goal was a cross, not a free kick or corner, but it was a cross placed firmly in between Alex Woodyard, and Ben Hennigan, and Hennigan wasn't able to get on the end of that one. Maybe could have done a little bit better to put off Daniel Udo with his header attempt. And then the first goal was just a back post effort in which I think it went over Alexander's head, and it was just a high and looping header from Leahy over the head of Nick Zanev. And Nick Zanev was fairly sketchy today, I gotta say. Could have done a little bit better on that first goal to track back and maybe try to get his top hand on that one. But instead it goes over his head. He was rooted to the spot, maybe tripped up a little bit, maybe got caught up on his feet, but could have done better there. Around the 6th or 7th minute as well, Nick Zanev had a moment of heart and mouth moment, really, where there was a shot taken from about 22 yards out from, I don't remember who took the shot, but it was low to Zanev's right, kind of bounced up a little bit, but he didn't hold on to it. He tried to get a deflection, a parry, but it went straight to the top of the box, and there was another shot. Luckily, it went right back to the hands of Zanev, straight to him, and he was able to make the double save. But he also got caught out from Vela, I believe, who one time from the midfield area tried to chip Zanev, you know, kind of like what we saw with Morecambe with Cole Stockton. But instead, it was from the ground. It wasn't like a chip over. It was like a floater, but it was just wide of the frame. So I think Zanev, Nightingale, Hennigan could have done better today. Woodyard was very good in terms of being up and down the pitch. He was good in terms of tracking back defensively, good in terms of, he actually made a couple of overlapping runs at times, played as sort of a winger at times, but he didn't end up finding the overlapping pass, or he didn't receive them, unfortunately. As there were a lot of instances in which we actually played it back to the center instead of playing the overlap. Rodoni came on as a sub, and he was very active off the ball. Made a couple of overlapping runs, but he never found himself on the overlap. The times in which he found himself on the ball was when he was going to play the overlap, or he was trying to play it down to the center. Rodoni was fairly active off the ball, but he didn't find himself on the ball too much. And when he did, he kind of played it towards the center. I don't think he was too confident in his 1v1 ability. And to be fair, Bennett on that right-hand side was a very, very good defensive threat. You know, anytime the likes of Guinness Walker or Rodoni tried to take a touch down the line, he would always be there to cut off the cross, or to cut off, or to get a foot on it. So I think Bennett was a very good player here for Shrewsbury, both on the offensive and defensive fronts. Wally was up and down all over the place for Shrewsbury, so fair play to Shrewsbury. I think they deserve the win today. McCormick impressed me. He played a couple of really good balls in, one to Mabude for the goal, and then one overlapping pass over. I forget to who it was. I believe is to Henry Lawrence for a cross. But McCormick also, took on the right hand side. He took a heavy touch with his left foot, took a couple of touches, tried to blast it on that far post bottom corner, but it deflected. McCormick was very active as that center attacking mid. I think we need to play McCormick on that attacking mid more often. That would mean axing Chislett, though, so we'll see what happens going forward. Do you think Wimbledon will get relegated? No. I think recency bias is a thing, but, not even 3 games ago, I was talking about how AFC Wimbledon have plenty of promise and that they have, keep in mind, not saying that they will, but they have the potential to finish in the top 10, or top 12, perhaps top 10. So I'm going to stick by that. I'm going to firmly stick with that belief that they will not get relegated. Of all seasons, this year of all seasons, I think they are stronger than any of the seasons prior. Obviously, it's a poor run of games, poor run of form here from AFC Wimbledon. It's 3 losses in a row if you count the Arsenal game, but I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think it's I think you're engaging in recency bias if you do say that they are going to get relegated, because the likes of Doncaster, Crewe, they're both god-awful in terms of chance creation. I mean, 4 goals for Doncaster, 6 goals for Crewe. Charlton have also been absolutely abysmal this season. I'm not sure what happened to them, but I don't think they're going to get relegated. This is a very good win for Shrewsbury, but in my opinion, I think they are relegation candidates. I think that the relegation teams will be Doncaster, Crewe, Shrewsbury, and it's tough to say because Morecambe have started off very strong this season. It's really hard to say. I think, honestly, Fleetwood maybe as that 4th relegation candidate. I think relegation is going to be kind of a question mark this year, but Crewe and Doncaster are kind of secured firmly in those bottom 2 spots, I believe. For me to say that they were going to finish top 12, a few games ago after they beat Oxford, after they beat Portsmouth, that 5-3 game, maybe I jumped the gun a little bit because, even in those seasons in which they were, hanging on the balance and, flirting with relegation, they had a pattern of starting the season strong. They had a pattern of, winning a couple games and then falling out in the middle of the season. I think the 2018-2019 Great Escape season was probably the best example of that, in which they, found themselves in the bottom of the table for a good, 15, 20 games in a row. There was another point I mentioned during the stream that I mentioned that we were engaging in a lot of empty possession. When we were down 2-1, we were playing a lot of sideways passing among our back 4. And, playing it to our outside. We were a little predictable as well. We'd play to our outside backs, and there would always be an overlapping run from Rodoni and company, which is good, but we did that too often. And if it failed, we would play it down to the center. It's too predictable. The likes of Bennett and Leahy were able to cut off some of those crosses on the wings, and they were able to defend the wings very well. I'm going to do a segment at the end of each of these analysis videos from now on where I highlight a couple of tweets just to get a different perspective from other fans. So Chapel 008 only managed 3 shots on target for the 90 minutes. It's not good enough to win matches. That goes hand in hand with the point that I made about not creating enough chances. Only 2 clear-cut chances, one with the goal, one with Jack Rodoni top of the 6 with a header just wide, and then Henry Lawrence with a shot from 20-something yards out, 6 yards over the bar. Ed Hewison, terrible result. Not being able to sign another center back and striker was a huge worry for me. Good point. Presley has looked knackered for weeks. If he gets injured too, we have no options. Goes with the lack of striking depth. Hennigan and Nightingale have done well, but both need a break. Good point, yes. I do think we could have Daniel Chuka perhaps playing for one of those two to give them a break, perhaps. I think he hasn't gotten enough minutes, but Chuka, a very, at times has struggled with getting caught out too far forward in terms of defensive pressure, but, for the most part, he's a very traditional center back, very good in the air, and I think he could certainly be a help to us in terms of rotation. And then If we want to look at it on a positive note, Bernie Baldwin. 2 weeks ago, we finished a week where we scored 12 goals in 3 matches. We lost to a good Plymouth side last week, an even better Arsenal side on Wednesday, and a bogey team today after going 1 up. We don't need to panic yet. And I think that's true. I know a couple people have been overreacting. I know that's the nature of fans that are passionate about their club. There have been a couple fans, saying that, well, mainly not fans, but mainly neutrals that say, Wimbledon are going to get relegated. They've been figured. Even one of our fans said on Twitter that we've been figured out. Robbo's been figured out. It's not going to be good. But also, Tal's 19987 actually just said, notice last 3 games we're not urgent enough from behind. We tend to pass. We start passing backwards to the defense in GK when we need to look forward. That goes hand in hand with something I just said like about 2 minutes ago. So that's a good point there. And then very good analysis there from Bernie Baldwin. Positive analysis, good analysis from Ed Hewison in the sense that we lack in striking and center back depth. So we'll see what happens going forward. I think it's too early to panic, but at the same time, this is a bit of a concern. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys on the flip side.